Have you ever heard of the woman Rasputin? Today, we're diving into the dark and twisted story of Mariam Soulakiotis, a Greek Orthodox abbess whose convent became a house of horrors. Her tale is a chilling reminder of how faith can be manipulated for power, greed, and control. Born in 1883, Mariam Soulakiotis grew up in a poor family in Greece. From a young age, she was deeply religious. In 1923, she joined the Old Calendorist movement, a group that broke away from the mainstream Greek Orthodox Church over a change in the calendar. She became a follower of a charismatic bishop, Matthew Karpathakis, and eventually rose to become the abbess of her own convent, a monastery near Athens. On the surface, her monastery seemed like a devout sanctuary. It was perched on a pine-covered mountain, looking peaceful and serene. But behind the convent walls, a very different reality was unfolding. Mariam began to build a cult of personality around herself. She presented herself as a living saint, a prophetess with a direct line to God. Her followers, mostly women from wealthy families, were completely devoted to her. They believed she had healing powers and could guarantee their salvation. But this salvation came at a steep price. New members were required to donate all their worldly possessions to the monastery land. Jewelry, money, everything. Mariam convinced them that material wealth was a sin and that by giving it to her, they were cleansing their souls. Once inside the convent, these women were completely cut off from the outside world. Their families were told they had achieved a higher spiritual state and could no longer have contact. Life inside the monastery was brutal. Mariam enforced a strict, almost impossible regimen. The nuns were forced into hard labor, often on a starvation diet of just bread, olives, and water. They were deprived of sleep and subjected to constant psychological torment. Mariam would tell them they were sinners, that their families had forgotten them, and that only she could save their souls from damnation. Any form of dissent was met with extreme punishment. Nuns who questioned her authority or tried to escape were beaten, locked in solitary confinement in a cold, dark cell, and denied food and water. Some were even chained. The psychological control was so complete that many of the nuns believed they deserved this treatment. They saw it as a test of their faith, a penance for their supposed sins. One of the most disturbing aspects of Mariam's reign was her alleged use of torture to extract confessions and enforced obedience. Survivors later recounted horrific stories. They spoke of being forced to stand for days on end, being beaten with rods, and being subjected to cruel and unusual punishments designed to break their spirit. Then there were the deaths. Over the years, a shocking number of nuns died within the convent walls. The official cause was often listed as tuberculosis or another natural illness. However, the true circumstances were far more sinister. Many of these deaths were the result of starvation, beatings, and medical neglect. Mariam reportedly refused to allow sick nuns to see a doctor, claiming that faith alone would heal them. If they died, she would tell the other nuns it was because their faith wasn't strong enough. These deaths also served a financial purpose. When a wealthy nun died, her entire fortune remained with the monastery. Mariam and her accomplices had systematically amassed a huge amount of wealth through these means. It's estimated that she acquired hundreds of properties and a fortune worth millions in today's money. For years, rumors swirled about what was happening at the monastery. Desperate families tried to contact their relatives inside, only to be turned away. Some went to the police, but Mariam had powerful connections and was skilled at presenting an image of piety and charity to the public. She used her influence to dismiss the accusations as malicious gossip spread by enemies of the church. The tide finally began to turn in 1950. One woman managed to escape the convent and went straight to the police. Her harrowing testimony, along with mounting pressure from the families of other missing women, finally triggered a full-scale investigation. When the police raided the monastery, they uncovered a scene of unimaginable suffering. They found emaciated women, some of whom were mentally broken from the abuse. They also discovered the convent's meticulous records, which detailed the vast properties and wealth that had been transferred from the deceased nuns. The trial that followed was a sensation in Greece. Mariam Soulakiotis, the once revered mother, was charged with a litany of crimes, including homicide, fraud, forgery, and extreme cruelty. The courtroom heard testimony from dozens of survivors and witnesses. They painted a picture of a sadistic tyrant who used religion as a weapon. One of the most damning pieces of evidence was the sheer number of death certificates, 177 of them all linked to the convent, over a period of just over a decade. The prosecution argued that these were not natural deaths, but the result of a systematic process of abuse and neglect. Mariam, however, remained defiant throughout the trial. She denied all charges, claiming she was a victim of a conspiracy. She presented herself as a holy woman being persecuted for her faith. Her loyal followers, still under her spell, packed the courtroom to support her, weeping and praying for their saintly mother. Despite her denials, the evidence was overwhelming. In 1951, she was found guilty of numerous counts of fraud and abuse and sentenced to several years in prison. But that was just the beginning. A second trial followed, focusing on the deaths. In 1953, she was convicted of multiple homicides and sentenced to life imprisonment. Mariam Soulakiotis died in prison in 1954. To the very end, she maintained her innocence. Her cult, though shattered, left a deep scar on Greek society. The case exposed the dangers of unchecked religious authority and the terrifying power of psychological manipulation. Her story serves as a dark chapter in modern history, a testament to how the search for spiritual salvation can be twisted into a path of exploitation and death. The woman Rasputin may be long gone, but the lessons from her reign of terror are as relevant as ever. It's a powerful reminder to always question authority, even when it's wrapped in the robes of faith. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating and disturbing as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more heinous crime files from the darkest corners of history.